you about yourself and your community. What brought you to the idea of an intentional community?
Yeah. So Just Embrace is the name of the community here, and the idea with the name is that justice and mercy, or justice and an embrace, need to be woven together for either one to really have restorative power. So justice without mercy can easily become unjust for somebody else, and mercy without justice can lack the teeth to really bring transformation and healing to a community. So Just Embrace is our name.
Sher, you mentioned a lot of activities there. You mentioned meals together and bringing the community together for special celebrations. You mentioned Bible studies and liturgies and things. Of all these experiences, can you pick one that really highlights the community experience for you?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what I said in the second edition of the video, but Just Embrace we do a lot. We do a lot of events, we do a lot of dinners, we do parties in the yard for hundreds of people, we do big carnivals, and I want to answer your question, and I want to say that the shared table is, because there's a lot of Eucharistic meaning and really just transformation that happens from consistently sharing a meal together. But my answer is actually going to be death. So this community of people in the last 8 years that we've been gathering together, we've lost probably over 12 community members, and we've also experienced cancer scares, losses of parents, and just a lot of pain and suffering. And you know, when we started gathering together and doing life together, I think we naively did not realize how very fragile our neighbors' lives were. And as we started to lose members of our community, we realized that death really is part of our vocation. It really is part of, not only part, but probably the most important thing that we do. Not only because it is very important that we are walking through death with our community members, but it is such an example to those who are looking on, that those who are looking on in their affluence, who have every opportunity to avoid sickness and death, and put lots of resources towards keeping their head in the sand about the inevitable, and but also for those of our community members who are isolated and alone, and just imagine dying with nobody around them. The way that we do death is really a light, I think, to the community. We put a memorial sign on our gate whenever one of our community members passes away, and then every year during All Saints Day, we put for about a week, we put all of our memorial signs back up on the gate that we've collected through the years, because we want to remember those that we've lost in the legacy. And in a community like this, I think that is a big statement, that this is a community where people disappear. They just disappear because there's nobody to grieve them. And so for us to begin to do that, I think is really important work, because we want to remember those that we've lost in the legacy. And in a community like this, I think that is a big statement, that this is a community where people disappear. They just disappear because there's nobody to grieve them. And so for us to begin to do that, I think is really important work.
death and life. And what is your hope for the future? Where do you see the community here on Kenmore going?
That's a tricky question. So I mentioned that this was a former drug house. We do not own this house; we rent it, and our landlord is, interesting. We actually don't even have a lease. We haven't had a lease for like 6 years on this place, so we feel like we're living on borrowed time in this place, and so we're working towards being prepared to move. I don't want to just up and move, so we're talking about it. We don't have any plans to move, but we're doing the work of getting people really around the idea that it's a need of ours, and that and discerning together what's next for us geographically. In addition to that is that our neighborhood is gentrifying pretty rapidly, and unless something changes, that will probably force us out in the near future. There's a house in this neighborhood that is not too far away that I would love as far as where we could relocate to, but relocation is inevitable, and what that means for who we will become will depend on what that relocation will look like. I am currently getting my doctorate, my DMin, my Doctor of Ministry from Lipscomb, and that could potentially open some doors for creating a more intentional component of training. So currently, I didn't mention this, but we do training here. We've done training for years where we bring groups in, not to serve the poor with us, but to learn from what our mutual community looks like, and to really inspire them to go home and break down some barriers in their own communities and develop communities that look more like the kingdom of God. And so that training that we've done it with college kids. We've done it with a Lutheran church in the suburbs. We have a lot of good momentum with that. So if we were able to get a space that was ours, I think that could be something that we focus on as a way of creating more of a ripple effect from our community. But as far as like this family, I just want to keep living and dying together. That's my dream for my life, and a lot of our vulnerable members I know are in this for the long run. Like, they're in this to the end. A lot of our affluent members are still kind of coming and going, and they're in the city for a season of life, and they're moving on for career opportunities, or starting families closer to home. So I think that there's a need, maybe a need for this community to have more rooted people, who make decisions to stay long term, for this to really take root in the future. But so in addition to maybe a longer term group of people beyond myself who are really committed to this way of life, I think that housing and getting a sustainable place to live is our first priority right now. But I think like the way for me that I was so moved by seeing, well, not really seeing, but hearing the stories and reading the stories of human beings who chose a way of life among the poor. I want to be an example of that, so that other people can, their imagination can expand, and what they imagine for themselves and what it looks like to follow Jesus, that they have more material to work with, and that I know a lot of people get afraid of certain things, and there's a lot of unknowns, and I'm not really afraid of much, and so I love to pioneer in hopes of clearing a path for people to follow me. So however, whatever's next for us, I just hope that it creates easier access for people to really see what's happened here and witness the restorative power of Christ in our midst, and